What we have feared the most has just gained access and entered our solar system. Humanity has always thought about the possibility of alien life forms on other planets and in other galaxies in outer space, and this has just been confirmed after a massive object was detected. This massive object is currently in our solar system, and it's so mysterious to the point that it set off Earth's defense system the moment it entered our solar system. What is this massive object and what danger does it bring? Join us as we explore how this massive object set off Earth's defense system after it entered our solar system. The phenomena around us, especially in space, can sometimes be so confusing and life-threatening that even the government and security forces have to get involved. One good example is the National Aeronautics and Space Administration collaborating with the US Air Force to explore and patrol the skies if an unidentified flying object is caught lurking around us. Most times we usually don't know what this might be, and according to NASA, they almost always have no idea about such objects when it's detected. Although we can't exactly tell if the government is aware and was interacting with the unidentified flying objects and hiding the information from us. While on the other hand, this might just be a shocking discovery made by them as well. Regardless, these discoveries are explored, and the massive object detected recently was the center of attraction across the world of science and astronomy. The discovery of this massive object entering our solar system started when a couple of scientists were looking into space with a telescope in 2020. It was during this astrology session they discovered an odd-looking structure with a weird shape. This odd-shaped massive object looked like a cross embedded into a circle, and it was discovered when it entered the field of view of the HI-2 telescope at the Solar Terrestrial Relations Observatory. The Solar Terrestrial Relations Observatory, also known as STEREO, is a mission directed by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It is characterized by almost identical twin telescopes. One of the telescopes is positioned ahead of Earth's orbit while the other is positioned behind. The HI-2 telescope is designed primarily to study the Sun's activities spectroscopically, but it's also capable of spotting very unusual findings, just like what happened with this humongous object. The massive structure was captured and said to be wheel-like. Also, judging from the object's size and how it made its path around the sun, scientists and other observers had no second thoughts about this massive wheel-like structure, as they were all convinced that this object captured by the observatory was definitely a spacecraft. Another factor that confirmed their suspicions was how this massive object moved from right to left the moment it entered the field of view. The massive object looked to be bigger than Venus, Mercury, and Earth. Immediately it was discovered on the telescope, scientists were able to confirm right away that the object in no way looked like our space station, nor did it look like any satellite that's been sent into space. One of the scientists mesmerized by this discovery confirmed this in a statement. "You can tell this thing doesn't look like our space station, no way. It doesn't look like any satellite that I have seen." This made the massive, weird-looking object garner so much attention from scientists and astronomers, and it was named Ezekiel's Wheel. So why was an alien spacecraft detected in space named Ezekiel's Wheel? It was named Ezekiel's Wheel because of a striking resemblance to a description made by one of the books written in the Bible by one of the prophets from the Old Testament, Ezekiel. Ezekiel was a priest living in exile in Babylon around 593 and 571 BC. During this period, he wrote a book which is now known as the Book of Ezekiel. This book comprises visions made by Ezekiel himself, and one such vision is where he describes a flying chariot. This flying chariot was characterized by wheels within wheels and was also powered by angels. The fact that this massive object, seen by the HI-2 telescope at the Solar Terrestrial Relations Observatory, can be related to something described by a prophet way back in the Old Testament just strengthens the theory of this massive object being a spacecraft. This thought also immediately became a reference to visitors from other worlds. While some people were convinced they had just spotted a spacecraft, not everyone agreed. One of these people was UFO researcher Scott Brando, and he argued that what people saw and referred to as a spacecraft was nothing but ordinary reflections. He noted that this is a recurring image artifact caused by internal reflections of a planet. NASA backed up this statement, adding that it could happen in an unprepared move. Believers in UFOs also attributed the text to the basis that ancient peoples could not analyze the world around them fully, hence we get myths, superstitions, and legends from their attempt at explanation. For instance, stories about Cyclops appear to originate from the discovery of a rhinoceros skull. The people misunderstood the opening for the horn as a third eye. As a result, the story arose out of the explanation for the indentation. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration explained the situation further, saying in a statement that the strange-looking geometrical object is actually an internal reflection of the planet Venus within the telescope optics. This effect has been seen many times before, the statement concluded. This explanation from NASA appears to make more sense, and it even debunks the flying chariots from the Bible, but that just opens the door for more thoughts. Although we do not exactly know what Ezekiel saw, what if this is true? The fact about Ezekiel's account of events in relation to the massive object seen in space just sounds like something very relatable that has happened before, which Ezekiel saw and wrote about in his book. This is the book that fascinated people like Eric von Daniken and the theory of ancient aliens, both of which motivated NASA engineer Joseph F. Blumrich to come up with the spaceships of Ezekiel while he worked with the agency, thus relating NASA to Ezekiel's wheel, which Blumrich tried to recreate with his patented omnidirectional wheel. Fans of ufology were aware of the rarity of NASA to confirm, let alone talk about, a UFO sighting, yet that was the case this week when the space agency gave an official statement explaining a UFO which was being referred to as Ezekiel's wheel. Could it have been that NASA is trying to throw our attention away from this phenomenon, trying to hide something about this particular UFO? However, NASA coming out to give details about this kind of happening was not what triggered people to think that the space agency was trying to cover something up. It was the fact that the National Aeronautics and Space Administration addressed another situation in that same statement. That captured the full attention of people to read the meanings of NASA's explanation of the massive, oddly shaped object. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration added further in the statement, talking about the quality of the images. They said in the statement, saying, "We have also gotten some questions about why the images from the most recent few days are of lower quality and are sometimes incomplete. This is because our data comes in two streams, highly compressed and lower quality but fast space weather beacon data, which are replaced after a few days with better science quality images." This add-on that was made alongside the announcement was what ticked something off in the public's intuition, the assets of people who thought about the situation deeply. Their reasoning was so deep and also looks quite valid, because why would NASA, a space agency we have known too well to always not talk about any sort of unusual space anomalies, be now the same space agency that explained the circumstances surrounding a particular phenomenon? That was highly suspicious. For those who watch these video feeds for such phenomena or just due to scientific curiosity, the fact that NASA has two visual feeds of the same area must be confusing. And why is it strangely switched to what it agrees is a lower quality feed right after the so-called Ezekiel's wheel appeared? Is there any hidden agenda of some sort? Well, we can't say for sure. Also, some other discoveries have been made in space that seem to complement the possibility of this massive object being another space phenomenon. We have seen several sightings made in space, and one such example is the alien probe that was spotted when it visited our planet from interstellar space. The Pan-STARRS telescope discovered this alien probe while observing its regular routine of scanning the sky for any potential discoveries. Situated in Hawaii on the island of Maui, the Pan-STARRS telescope observed the sky for any astronomical objects in space that changed in brightness or moved. It was during one of these checks that a Canadian astronomer named Robert Werrick spotted the small and weird object 33 kilometers away from Earth. Initially, the astronomer pondered this weird object, wondering if it could be an asteroid, but this was not similar to an asteroid in any way. Although several tests and research started on the object, and while they were conducted, astronomers' analysis suggested the space finding could be a comet based on its orbit around the Sun. The object's orbit looked to have a very high elliptical shape, a path known by all to be a common pathway for comets. But unlike other comets, this object could not show signs of a dusty, bright tail. That also served as a sign to the scientists, showing that this object was not a comet or an asteroid. From that point on, multiple theories and assumptions about the object's origin started to flow and make rounds all across the scientific space. This left scientists and astronomers with only one explanation for the phenomenon. that there was a chance that this weird object was from another star system in the distant past and was ejected at some point, and this probably causes it to fall into our solar system. After the scientists saw that they had no other options, they named the space discovery Oumuamua, which means a messenger from the distant past reaching out to us. Apart from spotting Oumuamua and the several assumptions made by scientists about its origin, another thing that shocked scientists about the weird object's discovery was its shape, amongst other features. When the object was found, an inquisitive Robert Werrick returned to the photos taken by the telescope during the previous day's survey. While they analyzed images taken by the Pan-STARRS telescope, they discovered the object in these photos. Researchers also found that despite being about 230 meters long, it was only 40 meters thick. This gave it an odd appearance, and it appeared to have a cigar-like shape. More studies from researchers also noted weird movements and speed as it moved, which brought about the motive that the Oumuamua must be moving through our solar system with its mechanisms. In other words, Oumuamua is a spacecraft as well. Another thing that majorly surprised its scientists was the Oumuamua's movements. This is because, according to their study, the force given by the object's propulsion was powerful enough to cause a long object like the Oumuamua to spin out of control. Conversely, the Oumuamua appeared to be in total control. The object seemed perfectly stable, rotating in a tumbling motion that didn't serve as a threat due to disintegrating or breaking apart. Still, that was not the only thing about the Oumuamua that baffled scientists. The body came with a high-leveled shininess that seemed like it was built with a glistening metal or was coated in highly reflective paint. It also got very little of the sun's light that glistened on it. At the time this weird space phenomenon was found, the Oumuamua became the latest attraction to scientists and astronomers and was the talk of the town in the entire world. Since it was highly talked about in several places, the Oumuamua's discovery got a lot of theories from people, especially scientists and astronomers, as they explained perceptions about this weird object. As multiple scientists began to develop theories, some noticed that the Oumuamua's shape, shininess, and movements were so weird and depicted that they didn't look natural. Therefore, significant assumptions stood mainly on three possibilities: that the object is a spacecraft constructed by an alien civilization all the way from another galaxy. Some scientists also believe further that this object was either sent by an alien in a bid to spy on our solar system, or it was a scientific probe that ran off wildly from another planet. Well, more speculations rose alongside and even ran deeper. Some scientists stated that Oumuamua probably used a giant solar sail, which kept all the energy from the solar system moving across the final frontier. The team of astronomers that came up with this idea made it aware that they were very speculative, yet the public seemed to hold on to the concept and keep to it. However, of all the theories against the Oumuamua, one idea from a Harvard scientist and a postdoc broke into a worldwide argument, but they still seemed to stand on their claims. A Harvard scientist, Dr. Avi Loeb, and Shmuel Bialy, also a postdoc from Harvard, came up with a theory. They announced the Oumuamua is not a comet, asteroid, or any other naturally occurring object. In their study, Loeb wrote, "The possibility of an artificial origin for Oumuamua must be considered." With the object firing material from its surface, when scientists observed the long object, they saw that the Oumuamua's movement was so strange it looked to get a strange speed boost. This observation caused scientists to believe that it must have happened due to outgassing. However, Loeb and Bialy's study was against that idea. As it was written in Loeb's book Extraterrestrial, he stated that something or someone must have produced the Oumuamua. That was what the study he talked about with Bialy was, because contrary to other scientists' outgassing theory, Loeb and Bialy stated that Oumuamua's acceleration must have been due to pressure from solar radiation. They also stated that the lack of additional rotation in the long object could have been due to the change in motion. In their analysis, they also explained the reasons for radiation pressure. They said that if radiation pressure is the accelerating force, Oumuamua shows a new class of thin interstellar material created naturally or through an unknown process in the interstellar medium. It could also be protoplanetary disks or the result of an artificial origin. In their theories and arguments about the Oumuamua being of artificial origin, they noted that one possibility is that Oumuamua could be a light sail floating in interstellar space as space debris from a piece of advanced technological equipment which could be from an alien civilization. But if this was an actual phenomenon for the Oumuamua, Loeb and Bialy speculated that the long object was sent to us as a piece of equipment that would no longer be in use. They also devised speculations about whether the Oumuamua is an interstellar probe sent purposely to Earth by an alien civilization, just like Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. However, the duo suggests that the Oumuamua could have been sent from any star within 16,000 light-years. Regardless of what these discoveries do that caught the attention of NASA, there are a couple of fears about these types of objects as long as they have been discovered in space. Scientists keep watching the skies to observe and see if they might be making their way toward our planet. We don't know if the area has more observations to make and multiple objects to spot. Still, one thing we know is that there's a lot more about space that is not entirely understood, but we keep making more studies and analyses to justify these discoveries and explore them fully. In the meantime, what do you think about this massive object? Do you think it's really not a UFO, or is NASA really hiding something? Let us know in the comment section below.